Back to back. Happy Friday, everybody. Ladies, gentlemen, Mudahar, Sungrad, Kakash, Hassan, losing his mind out there, Hassan. Who else? iDubbbz, Samson, Noah Samson, the whole fucking, pedophile, cuties crew and shit. You got, what's his name? Whatever. Forget it. They all suck. Oh, what's his name again? That guy who's like a total like creep and shit, and he has like like not only pedo porn but pedo like zoophilia porn or whatever, like animals and all that shit. Forget his name. Fucking guy with the glasses, some dork. Anyways, what's this video all about? Back to back, again on a Friday night. Well, it's the truth of the matter is that the cowards, they cower together. We all know this. So, the unfortunate reality of our lives is that we live with uh, a burden of cowardice. And it is almost like a slider, a gauge that as we in like it's like a ratio of how people treat us versus them, and then they come into like the picture and try to like say no, everybody's cowards just like us, right? And like as I was like going over why like I reconciled I couldn't like help out people in like like dire situations or this or that, right? Like specifically women, and then specifically also pointing out like the plight of the Iranian and then subsequently Afghanistan women. Like I realized something that those people, those women, those genuine refugees are gonna suffer because of the cowards, the Muslim cowards that entered into these countries illegally on boat, otherwise, big ass caravans, mostly guys, and like left a literal sour taste in the mouth of like the locals and shit. Now, is it 100% of the people? No, but it's like such a sizable large percentage of people that it has to be addressed because again, what is the point? What is the validity of these Muslims entering into these countries? There's nothing. There's no reason. And quite frankly, it's actually causing, as in it's happening right now. Live ammunition is being used on the protesters in Iran. It's happening. Guys, girls getting shot up, man. It's the way it is. It's like it's nice for us living in a first world country, more or less, right? Like, yeah, we're pretty much fucking screwed if the cops turn on us and start shooting at us, right? Like, pretty much everybody is. But now take that into the equation and then add on like rampant terrorist groups, individuals with like firearms who want to like do crime, gangs, etc., etc., right? Like people from even outside the country, like mercenaries and shit, right? And then you have like a melting pot of disaster. Like it's just boiling over, this conflict, and it's going to spill into Afghanistan, into Pakistan, maybe Turkmenistan. I don't know the geopolitics of that country, honestly, but I wouldn't be surprised because of like the whole destabilization of the entire country. And apparently, like it was, the signs were there that this was gonna happen with the whole like dams and droughts and all these like types of things that were afflicting the country like well before any of these conflicts, like the Hamas conflict and like whatever, right? Like they were dealing with this stuff, but like this is the problem with like these cowardly dictators and like these cowards in general, right? Is that they're more than willing to sacrifice other people for their way of life and their control, but then when it comes to actually like solving problems and stuff, like I honestly don't know what the profit incentive or what the point was of Iran attacking Israel, other than to cause the widespread like destruction of their country, like the assassination of like many of their top military leaders and stuff. And I'm not saying like Iran had to sit this one out and just like play neutral or whatever, just like support them with like weapons and nothing else. Um, but it stands to question, like, what was like the end goal of taking out Israel for the sake of Iran? And I think I know the answer to that. Um, you see, just recently, right? Um, well, to back it up a little bit, like me and my neighbors are having a back and forth because I pretty much exposed all the Sikhs worldwide for being like pedophiles and like using the media to cover it up. And the reason why it's important to me to point that out is because a lot of them share the same last name as me, and it's kind of getting annoying to the point where, you're getting people committing crimes that, don't involve you or your family members, and it's just like a funny tangent to most people, like out on the outside, seeing like, oh, this name is being brought up yet again, but I gotta bring it up. So, not too far from where I live, around 1 o'clock, a bus driver, right? Most likely from Jane and Finch or Rexdale or some like, rough neighborhood was dropping off like, passengers, and this man, maybe he was like drunk or whatever. He's 20 years old, but like when you see the picture of this guy, and his name's Jack Meat Singh. Yeah, that's his name. Yep. This it's same as like the fucking retard ass politician and shit, or previous like former politician. He just like fucked his party up so much that like he was just like basically a cuck, a simp for Justin Trudeau and shit. And he just like it's like the self-serving idealism of these like fucking retards and shit is to like enter into politics and be self-serving to their own like voter base, but then like when you can't like achieve anything, it's just like, all right, I'm in it for me type shit, and then I'll cut a deal with the liberals. And like that's why we have all these problems in our country right now with all the immigration and like illegal immigration. And I was just like watching this YouTube video about like about how all these like illegal immigration like schemes and like plots are all being slowly shut down, like these illegal colleges, these illegal like types of forced employment. So they'll like hire people for jobs outside of the country, and then they'll like immigrate them here, like just fly off a plane, and then they're just like international like workers or some shit like that. I don't know. Like it's just some like shady ass type of fucking thing to like get a bunch of people into the country and then forcefully get have them get their citizenship, and people are literally dying and waiting for doctors in hospitals and stuff. Like the healthcare system is just overloaded and shit, and like the contempt for the people, for all these fucking retards who come in and like basically game the system. And at first, like what I mean, like in America, I'd feel like a little bit sorry for them because it's like there is no free healthcare and there is nothing. Like you're more or less on your own with health insurance and this and that. But like here in Canada, like the fact that like people were waiting on a doctor whilst going to a hospital for like whatever major emergency and stuff, and then they couldn't see one. Like a million people in 1 year did not see a doctor. Like what the hell? What the hell are they doing here? What are they contributing? What are they like? And they're not even stopping with the whole food bank thing, where they're like trying to scam people. First it was Ontario, and then like I think BC and Alberta were starting to have that problem. Now we're having it in Nova Scotia and shit. Like they're fucking parasites, man. So this guy, this Jagmeet Singh dude, right, threatens this bus driver after like 1 o'clock in the morning and shit. I think December 27th, so either the Friday or the Saturday. I don't fucking know. And then like um bus driver is like smart. They saw the gun and I'm like, yeah, that's fake. I'm calling the cops right now. Called his bluff. The guy fucking flipped out, tossed the gun in like some snowbank or something. The cops came, and here's the most fucked up part, right? It wasn't that he got arrested and like they recovered the replica firearm and this and that, right? It was the other shit that they found on this guy, And this is where the story takes a fucking retard ass U-turn and shit, right? Where as a normal human being, as like a regular citizen in Canada or the UK, like I don't think America necessarily has this problem yet, but they're gonna one day they're gonna have this problem. I think they might have it in major cities too, where they have like an unfair bias towards immigrant groups to the point where, well, I think yeah, they do have it with like in Minnesota and like places where you could argue that they're like cultural enclaves of illegal or semi-legal or whatever, right? Like basically like people who are not local and then just like form oppositional voter base in most instances, right? So he has also in his bag two bundles of rope, to tie somebody up with, two of them, two rolls of duct tape, and a bunch of knives. And these knives, right? And I at first I looked at them. I'm like, these knives they look like basically can openers, not can openers. Well, they do also look like can openers, but they think they look more like those fancy beer openers, glass beer bottle openers, beer bottle openers, I guess is what you call it. And I was wrong. It was like some kind of like weird carving knife, wood carving knife. And being the naive person that I am, I'm like thinking, this guy, 20 years old, Jagmeet Singh, whatever, Sikh, right? Fucking, fresh out of Punjab or some shit like that, all fucked up and shit, wanting to like rape this like bus driver and shit, threatens her with like a gun, right? She's not buying it, calls the cops, blah blah. So the next part is the most messed up part about this knife. So I would think that like at the very worst, right? These kinds of like tools would be used for like gouging out eyes or cutting of the skin or something like, along those lines. But then I unfortunately gave it some thought and then I reached a conclusion that female genital mutilation is actually more common than people are giving credit for, and this is why I have to like bring this story up because our news, right? And I'll link the video actually. It's on our like city TV, like Toronto, whatever, but it's like it happened locally here in Brampton. They're downplaying the story like almost completely. They're just calling it like a suspicious, like, whatever threat, right? They're not like, potentially saying it's a kidnapping with some like sort of like sexual incentive or whatever involved with it. So this is the kind of juxtaposition that the news and the media will do on reporting crime when it's on the beneficial side. So these people are like, illegally entering into the country, voting like overwhelmingly liberal, committing, tons of fraud crimes, this and that. Like the aforementioned colleges and like all these falsified work permits, this and that. Trucking especially. Sikhs love the fucking, illegal trucking shit. It's basically done by these fucking idiots alongside, the Packies and whatever, right? Like these fucking people who are just here to scam you and like, they take all the jobs, and now we're understanding the reason why you like the youths, the kids can't get these like regular, Starbucks, McDonald's burger flipper jobs, right? It's because these guys are given a special type of visa where if they work or study like a certain amount, they can apply for permanent residency. And so the scam is like these places are paid off to allow these people to come into the country and work. But the thing is, they're not just paying when they get here. They're paying back in their own country, and that's the hustle. So when you see these fucking Packies rocking like these like expensive ass sports cars and shit, like when I said that they were exploiting their own people, I didn't know it was actually like honestly that literally, right? And then like back to this like whole incident, this whole story, like they're just gonna keep covering for each other about like these sexual assaults and stuff. Like again, the grooming gangs in the United Kingdom are going to get, glossed over. Okay, despite the fact Elon Musk, Donald Trump, J.K. Rowling, among other, notable people, celebrities, and otherwise, were speaking on it. Like, it's just gonna get brushed under the rug because of the contempt towards women by basically closeted homosexual men. So, I thought I was being, like, either dismissively insultive, but also, like, ignorant to, like, what homosexuality actually is. And like whenever you're talking about this kind of topic, and I made like the suggestion that people should stop shaming others for this kind of behavior. Um, yeah, I was right about that. So not only is Hassan, right, like clearly like not only manically repressed and like basically incessant to talk about basic like other men, politics, get really passionate and almost like the best word I can describe is maternal about it. Like he is very he has like this kind of like way of like having you think that if you don't feel bad about the things that he feels bad about, like you're a bad person. And like that kind of characteristic and behavior, I no offense, right? But I see um exhibited mostly in women. Like that is a very female effeminate trait, right? Like the nurture or whatever, right? But more to the point, like so rehab room nonstop in this his newest video, like I was actually shocked and surprised. It started off with this like random robbery. I don't know, I think in the UK or something. Or oh no, Colombia, my bad. Okay. So what happened, like, in a pretty dangerous place, right? And this girl with her smartphone was at like a bus stop, and this guy approaches her with a knife and starts basically attacking her. And as she's fighting him off, her, well, I don't know if it's the boyfriend or just some guy that's with her, just runs away. And it's like, it is the topic of the entire video where Rehab Room is not only expressing his pride in the fact that like this man just like abandoned this girl like randomly and shit. I'm like, what I mean? I don't really care one way or the other, me personally, but it's just like, why do you have such a big interest in it? And then I slowly started to realize like he was getting off on it. Like I said before, right? There are people out there who like to piss other people off and find new and exciting ways of doing it. So like let's say the ICE protesters or like whatever, and they do it ad nauseum, and now we know the reason why. It kind of like paints the a picture by itself. Just chilling out, hand painting a picture. Well, no, you use a brush, but like more to the point, right? Like this cowardice that these people exhibit will be a perpetual um, ongoing thing in our lives, where you were told, like very, very young in your life, especially, this is the way you're supposed to be, manhood, this and that. But it was taken more as a suggestion by a lot of men out there, and we have been living with the hollified truth of reality that not only what I said about going out there as a man to like, have kids and like, prevent other like weaker men from having kids basically, but it's also um going back to the whole idea that we are as a species moved past the cowardice of men. Like we've seen the fall of Islam, we've seen the fall of, this shady version of Hollywood, these types of like perverted, very very like insecure, but also like at the same time manic types of people who go out of their way to victimize children, and it's spilling into governments, it's spilling into teacher unions, it's spilling into like the media, especially the news and the media that covers for them, because again there's so many powerful people, there are so many names that were like, handed out. Like, can you imagine all those like interviews and all those times that Bill Clinton would show up doing, whatever, and then like now they have to walk every single one of those back because of the Epstein file releases. And again, just like clockwork, people point the finger at Trump. And I'm willing to have an open mind about it. But see, the reason why I Trump, I trust the Donald so much, is because, you know, there's just something about this guy that seems different, you know? Because it's like, Rehab Room is going out of his way to show how insecure like he is over the fact that Donald Trump, alongside the U.S. military, went into Venezuela and kidnapped Maduro, or as a capture, whatever you want to call it, right? Without any casualties. And he's saying like, there's no way. Rehab Room. I'm sorry to say this, but the world is retarded, man. You think those people in Venezuela, with their country starving out, people like raiding zoos and shit, are gonna be able to do jack shit to the fucking U.S. military? Yo, grow the fuck up, man. I mean, your religion's done, your people are done, Hassan's done, Andrew Tate's done. Just hang it up, homie.